All right, I just got back from The Tunnel to Summer, The Exit of Goodbyes. Just saw this in theaters. This was directed by Tomohisa Tagachi, and he also did the screenplay and storyboarding for this movie. If you've been following me for a while, you know that Tagachi is one of my favorite currently working directors, probably my very favorite. We'll see how the Bleach adaptation goes, but yes, he's been doing the adaptation of Bleach Thousand Year Blood War. He did, what's it called? Akudama Drive. He did Digimon Last Evolution Kizuna. He's doing the upcoming Digimon movie, which I'll probably have a video on in a few days from now. I think that comes out Thursday, I think. But most recently, he's done this movie, which, on the one hand, I was very excited to see him adapting something kind of outside his comfort zone, sort of. Tagachi's typically been a lot more bombastic with, like, the big genre stuff, like cyberpunk and fantasy and, like, big shonen-y, action-y kind of stuff. So I was interested in seeing how he would tackle just a straight drama series with some mild sci-fi / supernatural elements to them. And it looks like he's brought most of his core staff with him, like his art director, color designer, etc., over to Studio Clap, which is the studio behind my favorite film, Pompo the Cinephile. So, just from like a staff perspective, I was super hyped for this film. But on the other hand, this film also falls into the purely on a genre premise level, this film also falls into the category of not Shinkai. Boy-girl, mild romantic tension goes through trauma. Which, it's very unfair to call this a, like, diet Shinkai kind of film. Like, in some sense it is that, but in other senses it's not. A lot of the people that attribute that label to these kind of films don't really understand what Shinkai is trying to do in the first place. But anyway, I was at least curious to see how this was going to go, and to be honest, I kind of got exactly what I expected, which was a very pretty looking film that feels very confused about what it's trying to do. Because, like, straight up, a lot of plot lines get just completely dropped at some point throughout the film. Like, there's a bullying subplot that just resolves in like 5 seconds without dialogue. The plot line with Tono's dad just gets completely dropped. It is not resolved at all, even though it is the primary motivating force of his character. Bit of a misstep there. And a lot of these plot lines get dropped because of the ending. Now, I'm not going to spoil the ending. I might do a separate video just on the ending because oh boy. I have thoughts about that ending, but it kind of creates a non-resolution. The way that, without getting into too much detail, the ending kind of goes halfway, and so it doesn't go like full sappy, like happy ending, but it doesn't go full like dramatic dark ending either. It's like the unhappy median between the two. Like, it's not the perfect balance. It's kind of the opposite of the perfect balance, if you get what I'm trying to say there. So I'm definitely going to have to go in depth on this ending in a separate video, but ending aside, the first like 70-ish minutes of this movie are pretty okay. And this is also a pretty short movie. I think it's only like 84, 85 minutes or something. But like the first like 80% of it is pretty okay. Um, I do wish that Tono, our lead male character, I think that's what his name was. I'm already forgetting names. I'm never good with names for characters. But he is he has a surprising, for as much backstory and development as he doesn't have a lot of personality. And so he feels very bland as a result. Even, like, it's very weird how much, he gets just as much backstory as our female lead, Hamashiro, and yet she feels like such a more complete character than he does. Hanashiro's just like has a much more interesting personality. She's extremely standoffish to everyone except Tono, because like he just kind of gets her on a core level. Like these two outcasty kind of, or like not outcasty kind of kids, but these two kids who have a fucked up home life in some way or another, just kind of click with each other instantly because of that. And so she only acts really hot. She acts hostile towards pretty much everyone except him, and the way that they are able to bond and have really strong chemistry throughout this film was pretty fun. Like the mid section of this film where it's just these two like hanging out and getting to know each other more was really fun, and they had really good chemistry despite the fact that Tono doesn't have much of a personality. It's not that he doesn't have a personality, it's just that he's a very bland kind of person. And I think some of that might have to do with the voice acting too. Because I looked up the cast before I started the series, or this film, and it does that thing that I hate where everyone except the two leads are like normal anime voice actors, and then the two leads are brand new people that have never been in anything before. There has to be some kind of business reason behind this, because it's an extremely common problem with anime films specifically. Not TV series. This isn't really a problem with TV series or OVAs or anything. This is specifically a anime film thing. And I kinda hate it. Except in Pompo the Cinephile, where it made sense thematically. You can go watch my seasonal wrap-up show where I talk about why I like it there. But in this now in Tunnel to Summer, Hanashiro's voice actress is fine. She's actually able to emote pretty well. Tono's not so much. He's very bland. Doesn't have a lot of emotional range. And you know how people make fun of like anime like panting and like gasping sounds? Like, you know how that's like a joke? It's real grating in this film. Like there are long stretches of just like panting, like exasperated breathing in this because of like characters are like running, and it's not good. Like this is one of the times where I really got to be like, some of the acting in this film was not good. And again, I'm watching like the Japanese subtitled version of this, so I don't think Tono's voice actor was good. It's a weird thing to stand out to me, but I think that had a big effect on how I viewed his character. And aside from those, like, and Hanashiro's, yeah, I already talked about Hanashiro. She's a fun character. Her backstory gets explored in a really interesting way. Well, I should say her backstory is interesting. I will say there's not a lot of the this is such a weird thing, because like her backstory is like all exposition and no action, whereas Tono's backstory is like all action that ultimately doesn't mean anything in the end. And so I don't feel particularly like love either of these characters. I think Hanashiro is a bit more interesting, but not by much. Which is a shame, because no one else in this film matters at all. Literally no one else in this film has any noticeable impact on these two aside from Tono's dad, which again, that plotline doesn't get resolved at all. So I can't say that it really mattered that much for how, as it's an abusive dad archetype. Like, that's how he's introduced in this film. Drunken, abusive dad archetype. And they go pretty hard with it, and it just doesn't get resolved at all. It's just dropped. So yeah, I was really disappointed by that. I've heard some of the light novel readers saying that they were disappointed about a lot of the stuff getting cut from the film, and I can believe it. I haven't read the light novel, but I can definitely believe that a lot was cut from this film, because it looks like a lot was cut from the film. Now, on the one hand, that it does make the film lesser as a result, because there's just all of these dangling plot threads. But on the other hand, I don't think I would have liked a 2-hour version of this movie. It would have... That's the one thing I like Takagi, is he really knows how to pace things. He's really good at pacing things. And I don't think a 2-hour cut of this film would have been good with the way that he paces things. Now, I don't dislike all this movie. I think the core thrust of like what it's trying to say, like about dwelling in the past versus recovering from your past with the present and being able to engage with people around you, I think that's a solid idea. And until the ending, I think it's executed pretty well. But man, that ending really throws a wrench into things. And also, I think this is a pretty solid looking film as well. I don't honestly, well, I mean, I'll just say it. This is the least good looking thing. This is the least interesting looking thing that Takagi has done, in my opinion. Now, there's a lot of like really cool, this is his, like he does the color thing. He loves like his reds and blues and stuff. But they're definitely the most toned down in this. The like Urashima tunnel scenes always look really cool. For as like it's very obviously not hand drawn, but it still looks really damn cool. I never stared at that and was like, well, that's a CG set design. I never thought that once. It looks cool. Character designs are really crisp and polished. The character acting on the whole is pretty solid. There's not a lot of like really standout moments, but it gets the job done in interesting ways sometimes. And a lot of the shots just look really cool. Taguchi is really good at making strong, impacting frames. Although there was one where he just put Hanashiro's feet in the shot in the foreground for like 10 seconds. And I was like, what do you mean by that? Getting a little Tarantino up in here. Yeah, I thought this was a good looking film, though definitely not Taguchi's strongest work. And this is probably not the strongest work from this composer either. it's like Harumi Fuka, I think, or something. Although now I'm struggling to remember what she did. She did House of the Lost on the Cape, I think, which I think had a better score than this. She's done a bunch of other things that I remember too, but I can't remember them off the top of my head. But overall, this was a confused film. This was a film that needed, I think we needed someone other than Taguchi to do the screenplay, I think. I don't know if he typically directs his own writes the things that he directs for, but I think this needed some more drafts. But even then, I don't think this could have worked with the ending. Like, even if I read the light novel, if it has the same ending as this film, I don't think I would have been satisfied with it. And I guess stick around for when I upload the spoiler talk of this ending. So, God, what would I give this film? It's entertaining for the most part until you really think about the ending. I guess I'm feeling somewhere like a light to decent 6, I guess. I didn't dislike it. Well, I guess we'll see how I feel about it after I talk out my feelings about the ending. But, yeah. I wouldn't rush out to see this one. It's not like a big blockbuster thing like the Digimon movie was, or like any of the Shinkai films are. So you don't need to see it on the big screen. I would still. It's right. This is right on the edge of whether I would recommend it or not. So, yeah, a little disappointed by this one. So that's all I have to say until I talk about the ending in the next video. Join me for that, and then join me next week after I go see the Digimon movie. This will be Digimon 02. That'll be interesting. But until then, my name is Ember, and I'll see you next time.